and thinking that it might be similar with what's in Romania. Definitely, it's not the case. So we were not able to make all the time the best decision in terms of what channels to use, how to approach people, how to do business, how to communicate, and so on. And definitely, it's a challenge. It's not easy to be an expat in France, but in the same time, they're offering you a lot of support if you need it.
Welcome to French Tech on Air, Romanian Touch, the podcast that takes you on an exciting journey into the heart of Romania's vibrant tech and innovation ecosystem. Today, we will have Adina Teleuca, founder of Toboro, a startup based in Paris, helping corporations downsize their waste and maximize resource utilization. Hi Adina, thanks to be with us today at the French Tech on Air Romanian Touch podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here in Bucharest today.
Hi, thanks for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here today.
Adina, can you please share with us a bit about your background and to start with, and then we'll go basically further with more context about what you're actually doing now and what you're doing in France and so on.
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Romania, in a small town in Moldova called Piatra Neamț. And after high school, I moved in Bucharest for college, where I studied initially Judaic studies. And after that, communication and public relations at the University of Bucharest. And recently, I became a student again. I study innovation and entrepreneurship at HEC Paris as part of a executive master program.
Cool. And on top of that, you are the founder of Toboro. Can you please give us more insights about the company?
Basically, Toboro started with a specific need that I had in my personal life. I was looking for a place where I could find different objects that I needed just for a short period of time without being forced to buy them. That happened during the pandemic. And this idea transformed eventually into a peer-to-peer rental marketplace or a sharing platform where people they can also either rent out their own objects or they can borrow from other peers the object that they needed.
That's super nice. So the pandemic was basically the motivator. May I just know what was the first object you were looking for?
I was looking for a tent to go to the mountains. And I wasn't sure if I'm going to use it again. So that was the first situation. And after that, I moved for a couple of months in Greece to work remotely. And while staying at that Airbnb, I remember that I needed, because I love to cook, I needed all kind of things. And I was asking my host, hey, do you know maybe the neighbors, do they have this and that? And then I realized that this might be a real need. So this is how I started.
Pretty nice. And so, many entrepreneurs, so many people actually have ideas and they always wish that could exist. What was the motivator to go from idea to basically dedicate your life to this?
Yeah, in my case, it was not precisely the fact that I wanted to become an entrepreneur, but more the sustainability side, because it is a business that has an impact in the world. And this is what I was looking for, because our mission is to fight overconsumption. Either if we like it or not, we live in a society that's based on consumption, and we are producing more than we actually need. And therefore, we are also generating a lot of waste. So I felt like I need to do something in that sense. And that was the trigger.
And how did it start? Like, did you just took a seat on a chair, drafted your business plan, or did you talk to friends? How did the full process basically start?
Yeah, I remember I started to talk with some of my friends and colleagues, and then with Anna as well. She's one of the co-founders. We are a team of 3 co-founders. And then we realized that, okay, we need a CTO as well, someone who can build the product. And this is how we found Cosmin. He's our 3rd co-founder and the CTO. And while discussing with people, we gained feedback, and eventually we said, okay, let's do this. It might be a good time for that, because I was ready to make the transition from being an employee to become, let's say, maybe a solopreneur at the beginning, or a freelancer, and then an entrepreneur, to have my own team.
Nice. And so now Toboro is 1 year old. Can you please tell with us about the different milestones reached until today?
One of the main milestones basically is related with the major decision that we took 1 year ago, was to move from Romania to France. Part of the team, because Cosmin, he has a family here, so he's still in Romania. And we took that decision in a very short period of time. And then once we arrived there, we've been accepted to some accelerators and incubators as well. The most important one was the one from Station F. And then it's just started, the usual experience that you have as an early stage startup, gaining traction and learning more about, in our case, the local market, which is completely new for us. And that was one of the main challenges that we faced.
Okay, so we'll talk a bit later about like France as a country and where your company relates to that. What were the first challenges from, you had the idea, which is, let's say, a vision, to the first issues that came out of the reality of the business? Like, what were the stuff you didn't think of that basically occurred during this first year?
Yeah, a lot of things. Most of them were related with the fact that we decided to launch directly in a new market for us. And because that happened in a very short period of time, it was somewhere between 2 and 3 months. From the point where we decided to do that to the point where we actually did it. And that's quite a short period of time. And so we didn't have the time to make a proper market research to understand the consumer behavior, which is different from the one in Romania, to have some beta testers, beta users, and so on. So we went directly there. But that was also, in the same time, it was a great experience for us, because it helped us, or it forced us to learn a lot and to push forward and to make huge efforts, both on the personal and professional side, to understand how things are happening there. It was super challenging, but the fact that we've been accepted to Station F helped us a lot. And also, we realized that being a remote team can be quite challenging, even if it works out really well and we are used to working in that formula. It's very important to have that, physical interaction between team members, but in the same time, it brings the advantage that you can access talent from all over the world. And in our case, we are still working with people from Romania, but that's all.
So you chose France as a market to start with. You mentioned already that it was a very quick decision to take. The first question is why? Why France as a country?
Yes, I think that in life, probably some of the best decisions, you just need to take them without too much overthinking. For us, France, honestly, was was on the agenda, but definitely not meant to be the first market. But then the war in Ukraine started, and that was the moment where we actually started to look on to discuss with the investors to see how the local market was impacted and is changing. And because we are a green startup, unfortunately, Romania, it's not, the best market for, or it might be, but the challenges are definitely a lot. And then we started to look towards France, and we saw that people are more educated in that sense regarding sustainability, and they're more prepared to use products and services related with sustainability. And we said, let's jump off, and that's it, because it might be a good time for us to do it. So it was quite fast.
Yeah, 2 or 3 months, definitely. But still, like there's just something I'm trying to understand. Let's say you have several countries which position themselves as like more sustainable. So of course, what comes to everyone's mind is like Nordic countries, Netherlands, Germany, for example. I guess at some point you were looking also at those countries, and what made you go to France rather than any of the one I just mentioned?
Somehow there is a proximity, a cultural one between France and Romania, even if there are many differences as well. And also, France is a leader in terms of sustainability in Europe, but not also in sustainability. It has a very well-developed entrepreneurial ecosystem, and you can access easily all kind of resources that you as an early stage startup you need at the beginning. There is also La French Tech, which put basically France on the global market as a hub for startups. You have a lot of support there if you want to start as an entrepreneur. For example, if you want to make this transition from being an employee towards entrepreneurship, there is Pôle emploi, which is the equivalent of the unemployment agency here in Romania. You have 2 years. During this time, you have financial resources and their support to launch your own company and to develop it. You have BPI funds, you have many investors, so many resources. And I think it's leading, in France it's leading this entrepreneurial, basically one of the leading countries in Europe and globally as well.
So your decision was made out of information you managed to gather before you move. But did you find any other positive surprise after you moved to Paris that you didn't even expect that helped you in your journey?
Many in terms of entrepreneurship, most of them through Station F, because it's a huge ecosystem there, a huge community. And you can have access to all those perks. You can speak with peers, with other entrepreneurs who are facing the same challenges as you do. And overall, people in France are more educated on the subject, and there is more awareness regarding climate change and sustainability. So in Romania, we thought that we need to use a lot more resources in order to also make this education part, before selling the product. And there, it was not the case, at least not that much. So also, it came with the perks of being able, to enjoy the local cuisine and finding new people from all over the world, at least as a
And I will ask you, of course, about the contrary. What were the biggest challenge that you had to face that you maybe didn't expect when you moved there?
Yeah. Not knowing the market and thinking that it might be similar with what's in Romania. Definitely, it's not the case. So we were not able to make all the time the best decision in terms of what channels to use, how to approach people, how to do business, how to communicate, and so on. And definitely, it's a challenge. It's not easy to be an expat in France, but in the same time, they're offering you a lot of support if you need it. For me, it was easier because as part of Station F, I was in a community of people, and the official language there is English. But I started to learn French, and yeah, it's difficult to move to France without knowing French. But in the same time, in terms of the mindset of the people, there's a huge difference from my point of view. So you can dream big, you can be able to speak your mind, you can be able to say that I want to do things that I want to change the world, I want to have a great impact, I want to bring some solution to the market. It might seem, I don't know, maybe too early for the times that we live in. And you have a lot of support in that, which is very important.
So personally, I'm French, but I left France like 12 years ago. So I'm really curious about something very specific with the French market that you found out that I'm not aware of. Like, what was your biggest, I don't know, surprise in terms of like things you expect, but that were just going extremely wrong because the French market is the way it is?
Yeah, I think it can be the approach that you have with different people. You need to be very humble in France, from my point of view, to succeed.
Okay.
You need to adjust your expectation and to prove that you can deliver something. If you do that, people are super friendly with you and they will help you. Also, in terms of how they communicate, that the humor, there are specific things that you don't get it if you don't have that experience before. And in our case, it was important. This is why it was okay, because we had the help of some French people, but otherwise it can be difficult at the beginning.
Okay. But so is it, I don't know, is it because those jokes are related to like cultural aspects of French culture, or is it, I know, for example, French people can be very sarcastic, and I know that sometimes people outside France don't understand that very well. Like, was it, for example, some of the examples you had to face?
It's a different way of doing jokes and sarcastic. Also, it can be challenging if you are Romanian, but or if you come from Eastern Europe. There are some, some ideas around the Romanians, but there are also so many Romanians who are doing amazing things in France and all over the world. So once you are in a group of people working for a project and doing something for the society or for others, this is not so important. So you as an individual, you need to show to others that you can, you love what you do, you can bring value to the society, and that's fine.
And then people will eventually open up and help. So you mentioned about being incubated at Station F, part of the founder program. So you're the first Romanian, I don't know if we can call Toboro a Romanian startup, but...
Yeah, let's say it.
Let's say it so. Okay, so you're the first Romanian startup incubated at Station F. So most of our French audience are pretty familiar with Station F, but maybe not the Romanian audience. So can you first share some words about what is Station F about and what happened there for you?
Well, Station F is the biggest startup hub in the world. It's quite well known, and you can find there entrepreneurs, so startups, VCs, also companies or kind of programs, incubators, accelerators, either from prestigious schools such as HEC with their HEC incubator, but also from companies like Microsoft, Meta, Binance, all kind of business partners like Google, Amazon. So you can access all those perks. Everything is under one roof. A huge location, an amazing one. They also have a co-living space nearby. So if you are an expat and you need to stay somewhere, because France is quite bureaucratic also, it is quite difficult, to find a rent at the beginning. You need all kind of papers. If you are part of Station F, they are helping you a lot, so you don't need to go through this whole process, which is very important. And there are so many programs. In our case, we applied for Founders Program 2.0, which is one of their core programs. And it is a 15-month program. It started with a 3 months learning period, and after that, you can continue to stay in campus and expand your team there if you need and have an office. But in the same time, it can be a distraction, even if it sounds weird. But you need to be very well organized and independent in the same time, to be able to choose, the best perks, the best events to go to, the best resources without wasting too much time, because there's a lot happening in the same time. But overall, it's an amazing place to be for an early stage entrepreneur. I encourage every entrepreneur at the beginning to at least to have a look, just search Station F on Google. They also have some online programs for people who are not able to move in France. And it can bring real value to your startup at the beginning.
So what are the key learnings you got from the program?
Well, in those first 3 months, we had all kind of meetings, also with business experts, with other founders. In the same time, discussions with investors to understand how to prepare. You have access to all kind of services, from legal services, legal support, and as a founder, sometimes you are, which is normal, you're very focused on building the product, finding the product market fit and everything. But there's also this administrative part that you need to handle. So they also provide support for that as well. So many perks, and they really helped us a lot.
And how do you access the program? Like, what are the steps to get enrolled?
Well, depending on the program that you want to apply, there are different paths towards accessing it. So in our case, we applied online. We also applied for HEC Incubator, and we've been accepted also at HEC Incubator, but we had to make a decision, and eventually we chose to move forward with the Founders Program 2.0. There's also an interview. It's quite long. It took almost 2 months until we received the answer from both of them. But you can start online. It has different stages, and everything is documented on their website, so it should be easy for everyone to access it.
Okay. So now let's go back to Romania. So you mentioned earlier that, France is maybe a more mature market for sustainability topics. But still, like, I think Romania is also a fast-changing environment where a lot of stuff that still have to happen, and I think sustainability subjects are part of it. So, do you still see Romania as a market where you would like to launch in the future, or do you think there are other countries that would benefit from your platform more? How do you relate to that?
Yes, definitely. We are looking towards the local market, and we already started to discuss with some companies here just to understand where they are and what are their needs. For me as a Romanian, definitely I want to continue to stay in touch with the local ecosystem, with the network that I have here. And I believe it has a great potential, especially because there are so many talented people in Romania. We know that the tech sector is doing very well here. And I believe that the sustainability segment is going to improve as well, because it's going to switch from a nice to have thing towards something that should be on the agenda of every business. So definitely Romania is on our radar. And maybe that's because I'm from Romania and I feel like I want to bring my contribution, and I don't want to just, leave the country. I am looking for ways to bring my contribution in, growing the local ecosystem, the startup ecosystem here.
Yeah, and I think there is, so first, you have foreign companies that are based here, and sometimes it's at group level that some of the sustainable decisions are happening. So what I understand is that those headquarters, as the local business unit, hey, we need to align on scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 topics. We need to see stuff happening in the country. So there is, I think, a push from the private sector to bring more sustainability as I would not say as a priority, but as a more and more important topic. And in the meantime, we start seeing, some creation of companies, startups in that field. So yeah, I'm really optimistic about the fact that the change is also happening, and also being part of the EU. Romania has some targets to achieve. So yeah, I think there is a lot to be done in the future here, and that the market is getting there. So yeah, not many startups in the sustainability segment are Romanian based, more and more indeed, but still not as much as maybe in France. Let's say 5, 6, 7 years ago, this topic was almost inexistent. How did this topic came to your mind? Like, how did you get familiar with trying to make the planet greener, the world a better place?
On a personal level, I was always looking for a way to bring my contribution to the society, and I started since I was an employee with different projects that I launched. I can say that I was at the beginning an entrepreneur before becoming an entrepreneur. So having the role of an entrepreneur inside the company and bringing new ideas, new projects, and one of them was related with sustainability and the social impact. And then for me, it's like a responsibility that we all have as individuals, even if we feel like we are too small to bring a real change and to have an impact, and we are looking towards companies and governments, to do that part of the job. In the same time, companies, they are moving that responsibility towards consumers and so on. But this is why it's important, the fact that we are starting to have regulations in that sense. We now have CSRD, the new directive from the European Union, which is pushing companies, to make their sustainability reports, which are becoming mandatory starting 2024. For us, it's a great news. We expected that, and I think many other startups will benefit from them, from all these changes, and also will encourage new startups to bring green solutions to the market.
Now let's go back to Toboro. So from what I understand, you had a C2C approach, and now you're moving to B2B. Can you explain more about the whys of this pivot?
Yeah. The first reason was the business model, because it's quite difficult to be able to become profitable if you have transactions with small amounts of money. And also there's been a lot of challenges in terms of the infrastructure. There's a lot of effort that individuals they need to do in order to become or to adopt a responsible behavior. And today, it's quite easy to buy something online and to have it delivered in front of your door, maybe the next day. And if you want to be more responsible, you need to maybe sometimes to pay more, sometimes to make an effort and to go to meet that person or to make a pickup and so on. That was one struggle, and also the fact that we were limited geographically, and we needed a very high supply and demand, in a specific area to be able to make the platform relevant. And the B2B business model, it's more attractive, but also it's real that businesses that they can move things faster with a bigger impact than individuals. In our case, that applies, and we also discussing with all kinds of companies. We realize that there is a need there as well. There's a lot of waste, and now that we have the sustainability reports, people, mostly companies, they are looking for solutions that can help them to make this transition from business as usual to a more responsible way of doing business. And that made us have this pivot. Actually.
So how do you pitch Toboro to a large corporation?
Basically, that's it. Our main clients are large corporations because we are looking for companies who already have some, at least CSR actions, or who are doing already their sustainability reports. And Toboro today is an asset management platform that can help companies to minimize waste and maximize resource utilization. So to give you a practical example, let's take IT equipment. Every company has IT equipment, and the lifespan of an IT equipment is somewhere between 3 and 5 years, more or less, depending on the type of the equipment. And after that, companies can choose to just throw away and to generate waste and to increase the carbon footprint. And here is where Toboro comes, and we provide them with a SaaS platform where they can list those items, for example, to be donated to NGOs who can refurbish them and to donate them to other schools or group of people who need them. We also track each and every one of these transactions, and we are able to generate data that can be used in those sustainability reports.
What are the main objections you're receiving from these companies, or at least for the ones which are not so open to the subjects?
Before having this regulation adopted, it was more difficult than today. It's true. Obviously, some of the companies, they said that once it's not mandatory, it's not going to be a priority for us. And we can understand that because businesses are for profit. But we need to find ways to sell sustainability-related products and services as benefits for companies. And that is a big challenge for green startups. And it applies to us as well. But what we are doing is to start with something very small, to narrow down to niche, and to make things very easy for them in order to be able to try the product and to understand the benefits.
Mm-hmm. And what is the business model? How does it work today?
Yeah, being a SaaS platform, it's membership. They have access to a package, and depending on what they're choosing, they can unlock different features from the platform.
Okay. You're also the founder of Nejibu?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
So Nejibu started before Toboro as a consulting boutique, IT consulting boutique, offering also IT outsourcing and IT development services, mostly for the French market, with a team of Romanians. And now we are focusing more on web accessibility, which is a major subject in France. I think it's going to come in Romania as well eventually, because there's also a regulation in that sense. So there is a standard, RGA, called in French, which makes it mandatory for public institutions and big companies to make their software products, for example, websites, accessible for people with disabilities. And we help them to align with that regulation, conducting internal audits, and also providing them some tools that their users can use to customize their experience on their websites.
So, 2 companies running simultaneously.
Yeah.
Also, Master of Science at HEC.
Yes.
It's a lot of work. How do you... I want to learn more about your time management skills. I mean, that's pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, well, I'm still learning as well about how to manage, how to handle everything. But it is true that even if I need to allocate some time for my master, it's more like an MBA because it's an executive master. And I can apply everything that I'm learning directly on my businesses. So this is more like a help for me in that moment. Otherwise, I think that it's important the fact that some of the people that are in Nejibu are also in Toboro. So we are a core team. We know each other very well. We work together for a couple of years. There's trust between us, and that makes the project work. Otherwise, yeah, it's very challenging, and you need to skip a lot of private events.
So it definitely impacts personal life in a way, because you need to handle everything one by one. Okay.
Yeah, but in the same time, Nejibu is becoming more independent, so I don't need to be there all the time.
And did you manage to have clients for both companies? Because you have the same people working on both sides, and I guess these are happening. Yeah,
one thing is that at the core of each of these 2 businesses, it's sustainability. And for me, it's really a life mission. For Toboro, it's related with the environment and the circular economy. With Nejibu, it's related with the social impact, and diversity and inclusion. And that can be translated in the sustainability reports for companies as well. So I think it's less challenging from that perspective.
And I guess it's the same decision maker for both companies that you talk to.
Yeah, most of the time, yes, it can be the same.
Okay. What's the future with both companies? Are you just focused on growth, expansion, or do you want to launch new features?
For Toboro, for example, we are looking to launch new features, but for us, it's very, very important to have product market fit. We learned a lot from the previous experience. So we're not looking that much for investors, but we're looking for clients. We're looking to make sure that we are providing solutions for real problems. And that's going to be the focus. Definitely, it's a long-term vision. Yeah, it was helpful that we were able to have a business angel, to have also investment from BPI, from STASNF, so we can handle from now that financial aspect. And we are focusing on finding clients and bringing value to those clients. And for Nijibu, hopefully it's going to become an independent company, and I will not be, it's not going to be mandatory for me to be there all the time.
So you expect the company to run on its own at some point? Okay. Nice. I have a last question. Do you have any podcast to recommend to our audience?
Yes, I do have. Startup Life, it's one of them. I started to listen way before becoming an entrepreneur. I also like Lex Friedman podcasts. Those two are my favorite.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for your time and for the open discussion. I hope we catch up very soon, and good luck with everything.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks. Bye. I would like to be very thankful to Commons Romana for hosting us in this amazing location today. If you like this podcast, please don't hesitate to give us a nice review, thumb up on whatever platform you're using to listen to this podcast. Don't hesitate also to listen to our older podcasts, and to make sure you don't miss out what's coming next, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks again for listening. Goodbye.